Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a church. We're going to get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. Brendan Schaub's going to come in the studio in a couple of minutes. Mark Geragos has been nice enough to carve out a few minutes for us because there's this big case he's working on, and we wanted to get an update.
He was name dropped on TMZ.
Oh, yeah, he was. And he's in Nice, France right now with the time change. Mark? Or time difference. Is it line one? Sorry. Oops. Oh, no, let's see. Oh, boy.
Ben, can you hit the top line one in the screener? This remote's not working.
Oh, here it is. Mark?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, but do you hear the guy?
Mark?
There's a cross. Yeah, there's cross talk happening. Somebody's doing a. Can you hear it? Wait, I think it stopped.
Mark?
Stop. There you go. I can hear you now.
Good. Are you editing? Okay.
All right, you got us?
I can hear you, but there's also something else playing in the background.
I can
hear it too.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah, it's Green Beret.
That's what I heard.
And
I don't know what that is.
Search computer playing audio.
But
it should be fixed now.
Yeah, it might have been bleeding through, but the fader was down, so I don't know.
It's kind of like what it. There we go.
All right, we got it. All right, Mark.
It reminds.
Yes.
Calling into you guys as I'm in Europe at 10 o'clock at night and hearing your voice, Adam, and then whatever else was playing, I felt like one of the fentanyl 5150s in the alley at the downtown L.A.
Well, Mark, I don't want to interrupt your amazing vacation in Nice, France, right?
Right, exactly. Very good. And rumor has it Drew was gallivanting in Paris.
I know. He was. I had a very surreal situation, Mark. I woke up for some reason 2 nights ago at 3:30 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to bed. So I poured a scotch, and I sat there and watched Love Boat in my bathrobe. And I thought, is there another human being alive who's up at this time? And then I thought, wait a minute, Dr. Drew's alive, and he's up because where he's at, it's 11:30 in the morning. So I called Dr. Drew, and he didn't pick up. And then 4 minutes later, he called back, and he said, did you call me? And I said, yep. And he goes, it's 3:30 in the morning. I said, I'm watching Love Boat. He said, good. And we got right into
Put
it.
on a cup of coffee. And
I said, Sonny Bono's in this episode. He goes, I already saw it. And then we broke down the game film. So, Mark, you're having a good time. I don't want to interrupt, but there's a big case brewing.
Speaking of the Love Boat,
yes.
You want to talk about my latest case, which is being spearheaded by Bethenny Frankel, Skinny Bitch fame, who's a force of nature.
Yes.
And we've people, as it's been reported, we've already assembled, I think, in excess of 80 different reality TV stars who have been telling us these stories that are just mind-boggling. And you name the show. We've got people from virtually every single show, from Shaws of Sunset to all of the Real Housewife franchises, to you name it. I mean, it's a world, I will be frank with you, Adam, I was not really kind of into, meaning I didn't know that much about it, but boy, it resonates with everybody around me.
Well, I did Celebrity Apprentice, and maybe we should throw another log on the Donald Trump litigation fire, because I got screwed by their producers. I don't even know if I've ever told you this story. Yeah.
No, you haven't. Why? How come you have to just be Adam come lately and tell me now, and not be during the previous 10 years we've known each other?
Well, I didn't know there was any precedent here. I didn't think it was worth a nickel, but now I may cash in on this as well. So, riddle me this, Mark. So here's
tell me. Wait. Yes. Tell me in yours. So that was basically a reality TV style.
Right.
What was your experience? Did you feel exploited?
I definitely got jobbed by their producers. I was So here's what happened. They go, we're doing a thing where your task is to sell a Buick, which is already a bridge too far in 2014. But they want you to sell this Buick.
Yeah.
And I have Michael Andretti Jr. on my team. So everyone looks at him, including Trump, and goes, Michael, you're going to be the team leader for this task. And Michael just sits there and goes, I can't do it. Now, what we don't know is he has a deal with Toyota who's supplying him his Indy engines, and he can't go with Buick. But
I was just going to say he has to have an affiliation that was not Buick, right?
Right.
So
But he doesn't.
That makes sense.
He doesn't say a word, and now we're on the clock, and everyone's just looking around, and they go, "All right, who's the next car guy in this group?" And they look at Penn Jillette, and they look at what's his name from Twisted Sister, and then they look at me, and they go, "Well, you know cars, you be the team leader." So I go, "Okay, I'll be the team leader." So I volunteer to be the team leader. Then they give you the briefing, the off-camera briefing. But I'm sure in Discovery, you'll be able to find some of this, Mark. That'll be part of the Discovery process.
Exactly.
On the off thing, they go,
if you had just told me this, how many years ago was that?
Oh, it's 10 years. But I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on this. But so
yeah, no, we should have sent a preservation letter 10 years ago.
Well, you can do it as soon as we hang up, and you can get back to your vacation. So we're sitting there with the producer off the air, and they give you the briefing to your group, and they go, you're selling a Buick, and we need you to do a whole presentation, and we need you to do it Steve Jobs style. And I said, Steve Jobs style. He said, yeah. I said, okay. Then he left. Then I said, all right, everybody, we're all going to come up on stage, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And Penn Jillette goes, didn't you hear the man? He said, Steve Jobs style. One guy with the microphone. That's Steve Jobs style.
Yep.
And I said, all right, I'll be that one guy with the microphone. And I went and did it Steve Jobs style, and I knocked it out of the park. Then we got into the boardroom, and Trump's like, why didn't you involve enough of the rest of the cast members? You barely used everybody. You did a solo job up there. It was great, but you didn't involve everybody. I said I was told to do, which they cut out. And then he started yelling at me, why not Mario Andretti or Michael Andretti? Why didn't Michael Andretti? I go, I don't know why he wouldn't do it. He didn't do it. And then I was told to do Steve Jobs style, and he's like, you're fired. Now that's job. That's got to be worth 15 to 25 grand, Mark.
Add
Come on.
Adam's name to this list.
Oh my God, Adam, you'll be phase 2.
Please. All right.
Phase 2.
But the top of phase 2. So
okay, the top. Yes.
Bethenny Frankel, so she's a force of nature. And how did this whole thing come? Yeah.
She and Brian Friedman, who's the co-counsel, or my co-counsel on this, who I'm also co-counseling with Chris Cuomo as our mutual client against CNN, and Chris kind of. I've known forever. You've done his podcast, and I got close to Brian during that piece of litigation, and then fell into this within the last. It's kind of snowballed and got 0 to 120 in no time. I've got dedicated people at the office fielding inquiries almost 3 to 4 or 5 an hour from the number of people. And the horror stories are unbelievable. I guess part of the attraction of these shows is that it's like watching a car wreck, and clearly at some point it's fueled by the powers that be, and it's unbelievable what they do in the wreckage and the emotional devastation and the nonsense that is kind of encouraged. So we haven't even filed a lawsuit yet. All we've done is sent out the preservation letter because we think we know where the bodies are buried, so to speak, literally in this case. And it'll be interesting to see whether they decide they want to litigate this or whether they wanted to do what's right and try to let the there's various remedies to this. One of which is legal, another is political, meaning legislative. We're still in the early formations of whether we're going to go full nuclear or whether or not they're going to come to the table and try to find a pathway to kind of ameliorate all the damage that's been done.
Well, this is a burgeoning industry because there's been, I mean, obviously they feed them a lot of booze, they get them agitated, and then they sort of shove them out and film them. And so I think that's a lot of the allegations.
I saw Bethenny talking about how she was inspired by the strikes in the unions between, like with SAG and the writers, and she wanted to maybe form a union of reality stars. Did that end up being this, and do you see a possible union coming in the future?
I think that very well could be what comes out of this. And I think what Adam calls her a force of nature, I mean, it's almost an understatement. She built from nothing a $1 zillion liquor franchise. She's done best-selling books a la Adam. I mean, she really has distinguished herself, and she's lit a fuse here. Like I said, from 0 to 120. I don't even. That's almost trite because of what has happened here. This is resonated, and I know that we're kind of there was somebody was saying today that this is the summer of labor in Los Angeles, but this is something that has truly sparked international interest and ramifications. So I think something's going to happen, and something's going to happen quick.
You know, when I got thrown off Celebrity Apprentice and I was sitting there with Michael Andretti, he was talking about his debrief, and they kept saying to him, "Do you want to talk to a therapist?" And he's like, "No." But about the third time they asked him, he started saying, "Am I crazy? Like, what's going on?" But during the debrief, they usually offer up counseling. And I don't know if it's a legal thing. It's probably a legal thing, but they didn't always do it with this. Celebrity Apprentice did it. They said you can go talk to somebody about getting jobbed by the producer. But in your cases, many went without, right?
Went without, weren't compensated, no residuals, likeness used over and over again, NDAs to kind of squelch any kind of complaining or negativity, even though it was exploited at the same time. Some of these stories, I mean, I could regale you for, we don't have enough time. What was happening when you said fuel you with booze and ply you with drugs and kind of push you out there and capture you on tape and then use you, abuse you, and basically dispose of you. It's a real issue. I mean, it's not somebody who got rear-ended 5 miles an hour and 2 weeks later decided to go to the chiropractor after they consulted the lawyer. This is real stuff. These are people who've had their lives destroyed.
So are the networks going to just hate the optics of this and what comes out in Discovery, and it's all going to look horrible once you start getting into Discovery, and probably just want to settle up to avoid having a spotlight shine on them?
You know, that's an interesting question. I've got a couple of cases in the office right now. 2 or 3 people, I think the defense did the right thing. They stepped up. They said, let's take care of it. Let's make it whole. We don't want to litigate this. Another one that will remain nameless inexplicably refuses to do the right thing. And I think ultimately, you can never accurately prognosticate 100% of the time, but I think ultimately they're going to come to regret it because, I've often said, and it didn't originate with me. I think I've told you this, Adam. There was a judge in the LA Superior Court once, Judge Alexander Williams, I think is now retired and is doing mediations. Judge Williams used to say when he was on the bench, a trial is to determine who is the asshole. And, there's some truth to that. I mean, there really is. Because if you really are good at what you do, you want to resolve it. You don't want to go necessarily the full length and go to trial. You go to trial, it's actually, it's great for the lawyers and it's horrific for the litigants. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a trial and somebody will sit, the client sitting next to me says, "How do you do this for a living?" And that's something you have to be cognizant of. The clients don't want it; they want a resolution. So we'll see. see what happens.
Any updates on Menendez Brothers?
We're about 45 days away from the DA answering. I still am also cautiously optimistic there. For those who don't know, we filed what's called a writ of habeas corpus, which the Latin definition of bring me the body, basically, arguing that the Menudo documentary, where there's the allegation, we've got a declaration under penalty of perjury, the young man who was also raped by Jose Menendez, and we filed that writ saying that there was new evidence. We talked about how they were convicted in a politically charged, to say the least, atmosphere in the DA's office to get a conviction at any cost. After having lost Rodney King, after having lost OJ, 8 days later they put the brothers on trial and got a conviction after basically, letting them kind of rot there and not put on any evidence of the abuse, and then arguing in the closing that it was an abuse excuse. By the way, for your listeners who haven't heard me say it, I attribute my interest in this case to Adam, because for years, on Reasonable Doubt, Adam would talk about the Menendez brothers and how, I don't want to step on your routine, I'll never do it as well, but if Natalia and Sonny had come in to the living room on a Sunday night and blown you away, and you always accurately, I think, said it would be at Natalia's behest,
she would spearhead it.
You had done something wrong.
Yeah. Well, look.
I meant to ask, by the way, Natalia when we were in New York, whether she took pride in the fact that you thought she would be the Ma Barker, the young Ma Barker, or whether she was insulted by that. Have you ever asked her?
No, I'll broach that tonight over dinner, though. Now, I just want to do this. Please do this for me, Mark. Send your least competent, most junior attorney over to the Menendez holding cell, to the cell that they're in, and then when they show up,
yes,
and the Menendez brothers are like, "Where's Mark?" That guy needs to laugh and go, "He's in the south of France. And by the way, he's all mobbed up with these crazy bitches who want to get rich now. So this is kind of a back burner. But I'm here, and I just passed. Well, I'll find out if I pass the bar on Tuesday. Yeah. But I'll take care of you kids. Which ones
can't fit?
Which one's Lyle?
Can I tell you a story, Adam?
Yes.
You think you're joking right now?
Not really.
Many years ago, I had a case, and I don't want to make light of it, but since you brought it up, I had a case that was called the Japanese OJ, and the client's name was Miura, and he, back in the 80s, he and his wife had come over from Japan as tourists to L.A., and his wife was murdered. And back in the 80s, when crime was like it was now in downtown L.A., it was a horrific case, and there was much publicity about it. But it slowly became apparent to the authorities, at least they thought, that Mr. Miura was the one who had actually killed his wife. But he had already returned to Japan. So he was tried in Japan. They tried him for the murder in L.A., but the murder that occurred in L.A., they tried him in Japan. He was acquitted. And then he thought there was a warrant out for him out of California, and he thought he was safe, and he kind of taunted the authorities here in there in California, but made the mistake of going to Guam. And Guam, as you may know, has U.S. jurisdiction, and so he was held in custody. I litigated the murder charge, and ultimately I was successful. I said, Judge, it's once in jeopardy. There's kind of a quirk in the law. You can't extradite him here to Los Angeles. And the judge agreed, and the murder was dismissed. But the DA, who was very clever, added a conspiracy to commit murder charge, and they extradited him on that basis. And they brought him back to L.A., and coincidentally, I was somewhere in Italy at the time. And so I sent one of my young lawyers, who will remain nameless. He'd get very upset. But he went to go visit Mr. Miura in the jail on the first night that he was at I believe he was at Parker Center. And I called him up afterwards, and I said, how were his spirits? And he said, great. And then the next day I get a call from the AP reporter, Linda Deutsch, telling me that supposedly Mr. Mura hung himself. And that poor associate never heard the end of it, that I had sent him while I was in Italy, and that the client, rather than live to fight another day, decided to hang himself.
Wow.
An awful story, but it does fit in with your theory.
I think it nails it on the head. It's funny, as you were telling me about this story, I was like, didn't that guy kill himself? That was my recollection of it. All right, last question then. Tinhorn Flats. That's a restaurant. It's been family owned. I went to high school. We talked about it with the owner's son, and now the owner, and it got put out of business. I ate there famously with Sonny when Gavin Newsom gave the order of no outdoor dining. By the way, Barbara Ferrer's being sued now, and so is Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, your buddy, Mark, they're all getting sued for trying to cancel any information with like Facebook and Twitter for anybody who dare to criticize those who would like full jurisdiction over every one of their subjects. So it's all coming unraveled. But any updates on Tinhorn Flats?
We actually do. We were in court right before I left, and the judge in the case said, "No, we're not going to continue this case. It's going to trial. It's going to trial in December." Barrett is excited, and frankly, I've got to admit, some of these things that what you were just talking about I think it was Hamill Law is the one who got that through discovery. The Barbara Ferrer kind of putting pressure on various people to stop disinformation. The greatest disinformation, I mean, you may remember, was the morning that the trial judge, Judge Chalfant, issued a 56-page tentative decision agreeing with us that the outdoor ban was complete bullshit. That's the legal term for it. He took 56 pages to dismantle it. So at that point, Barron says to himself, well, Geragos has got a Superior Court judge saying that this outdoor ban is bullshit and it's not based on anything. I'm not going to adhere to it. Somebody had gone to Sacramento, and I forget the name of whoever our health czar up in Sacramento was, and said, well, what do you think about what this judge just wrote? Seems to be pretty strong. By the way, we had declarations from the guys on the Barrington, the declaration. All of those guys had declarations in our filings saying that this was complete malarkey, if you will, to invoke the president's term. And he said, well, yeah, that's probably true that the outdoor ban isn't based on any scientific evidence, but what we really want to do is just keep people inside. And to me, that summarized everything that happened during those dark days, which was basically we're going to just use science as a fig leaf for public policy and to kind of achieve the ends. If there was no science, so to speak, in fact, all the science pointed otherwise. I mean, you and I talked about this endlessly. The idea of women or men yelling at us as we're walking on the horse trail alone for not wearing a mask outdoors. I mean, it was just nonsensical.
It's really funny when you go back and look at footage from that era a few years ago, just the president and the advisors and stuff, and they're standing out on a tarmac when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and then they had 13 people die, and the president was out. Everyone is out there. Everyone's wearing a mask outdoors with the wind blowing. This is where we're at, people. All right. I hope you destroy the city of Burbank and all praise to Tinhorn Flats. Let me give you a plug, Mark. Reasonable Doubt and Beyond a Reasonable Doubt is the podcast. New episodes every week. And shoot Mark a tweet at Mark Geragos as well. Mark, can't wait for you to come back. If your phone rings about 11:30 your time a.m. Yeah.
Yep, and we will meet you know where when I get back.
All right. Love you, brother. Thanks for the update.
See you.
All right.
Thanks, Adam. Talk to you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I always love Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Brendan Schaub is out there. Good. It's a good time to break. A lot to get into with him. And Ami's going to come in here and talk as well. Got lots of stuff planned for you, and we'll do it right after this. AG1. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens daily. I gave AG1 a try for gut health, increased energy, immune support, and it tastes great as well. I take it in the morning, and you can feel the benefits immediately. I think it's best to do in the morning. Easy to fit in your lifestyle. It's the healthiest thing you can do in under a minute. Just 1 scoop of powder mixed with water once a day. Every scoop is packed with 75 vitamins and minerals and high-quality whole food sourced ingredients. My AG1 is delivered every month, and you can do it too. So it's super easy to make it a daily habit. Also, I get the single-serving travel packs for when I go on the road. It is AG1, right, Dawson?
If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/ACS. That's athleticgreens.com/ACS. Check it out.
Let me tell you about BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes we get to the crossroads in life, career, relationships, etc., hobbies, sports, what to do. Well, therapy can help you map out your future. Trust yourself to find a path forward. I've always been into therapy, and I've been in therapy for a reason, because I figure, free your mind and the rest will follow, like that 90s show. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, I said 90s show, but I meant 90s song. You know what I meant. Give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, it's convenient, and it's flexible. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So I'm a big fan of therapy, and I'm a big fan of BetterHelp, and you don't have to sit in a waiting room and get the cross-eyed look from the dude on the other side. Just go to betterhelp.com/Carolla. Right, Dawson?
Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Carolla today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Carolla.
Here's my problem. Every Friday, my mother-in-law cooks my favorite Mexican food at my house. She has her own house, but does it at mine. It makes no sense. So before I started this keto diet, I went up to my girl. I go, hey, I love your mom. Her food, best in the world. It's my favorite. That's why I'm so fucking fat. Listen. Do me a favor, tell your mom I'm on keto. Can you do that? She goes, why don't you tell her? She speaks English. I went, but she doesn't though. But she doesn't. 8 weeks goes by, your boy hasn't touched a fucking tortilla. Nothing. I walk in the house last Friday. Sure enough, there's a fucking fiesta of my favorite food. So I walked in, I go, Mama, I love Mama, what are you doing? I know you know, I'm on keto. I know you know, somebody told you I'm on keto. She goes, mijo, bueno, ándale, mijo. Cabron, look, cabron. She grabs this tray, she goes, cabron, look, taquitos. It's keto, bitch!
Brendan Schaub is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Yeah, when you try to go low carb, the thing that fucks you up the most is Mexican.
Nightmare.
Because you can go to a steakhouse and do a version of keto that is satisfying.
Correct.
And there's a Japanese, Chinese, there's a kind of keto version of everything. There's no keto Mexican.
Mission impossible.
First off, the best thing ever invented is Spanish rice. Spanish rice is so goddamn good. We should overlook the cartels and the fentanyl.
I forgive them
for the rice contribution.
I love it all.
It's all perfect because you get a little Spanish rice, you get the little refried beans, you get a little of the beef that's spilled off the taco or whatever, and you just kind of get a little salsa in there, and you just scoop it all up into one keto unfriendly mouthful.
And the burritos are rice and beans in a tortilla. It's a carb bomb.
It is a carb bomb.
That's why I stay thick, man. It's impossible to be on a diet.
You cannot. It is kind of interesting that Mexico is really the only country that says fuck you to keto. We have nothing. There's nothing that doesn't involve tortillas and beans and rice. That is our base.
It just doesn't go with my lifestyle. But so I gave up on keto. There's no There's no keto in my household. The mother-in-law is too good at food. My kids are like, what are you doing? You're trying to eat just the carne asada?
Oh, wait. How old are your kids?
7 and 3.
Oh.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
You go to the movies, the popcorn, the can. It's impossible.
See,
who wants to be that dad too?
That was my thing the whole time, which is I can shop and not buy a bunch of shit. And I can order out and not do a bunch of shit. But I can't open the fridge and see just gobs of linguine that you guys muled back from the Italian place because you over-ordered and I paid for it.
Yes.
And now you've announced you're done with it.
Yeah.
So now you're just presenting it to me. Or there's still 3 slices of pizza in the box that you guys order. My whole thing is order all you want, fucking finish it.
Yeah,
Don't
leave it there.
mule it back.
I'm disciplined, but you leave that out there. I don't have that discipline.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you were struggling with alcoholism and you put together a few days of sobriety and I took a handle of vodka and just set it on your nightstand, wouldn't that make me a fucking dick? That make me the worst person in the world, right?
That's what they're doing,
That's
man.
essentially when your mom comes over and starts whipping up the tortillas, that is the handle of scotch on the nightstand.
100%. And my son had a birthday party. This is like 3 years ago. My son had a birthday party, and my mother-in-law cooked all this great food, and there's taco trucks and everything. And Theo Vaughn came there, and he goes, "Are you gonna get in the tacos?" I go, "Nah, man, I'm keto." He goes, "What are you doing? With that, you gonna be the weird dad who doesn't join the rest of the dads?" He goes, "Get in there." I'm like, "You're right, man."
Also, the problem with the keto and the taco truck is you go, I'm going to stay away from the keto. I'm just going to have some clear liquor, like maybe vodka, soda water with a lemon twist in it. After 7 of those, you're like, get the fuck out of the way. Where's that taco truck? You're chasing it down the street, yelling, I'm not done.
Yeah, like, you turn into a monster.
You think you're going to have a couple of light cocktails and you're going to be a good boy. The keto plan out the window once you catch the bus.
Yeah, alcohol and keto don't mix. Then I turn into a gremlin after midnight, man. I start eating, it's just all out the window.
Oh, and it's always the worst part is the buzzed eating because you wake up the next morning and you're like, who fucking ate the pineapple upside down cake? You look down at your shirt and there's a piece of pineapple stuck to it. Like, who put this pineapple on my pajamas?
Yeah, your face like a Shar-Pei, and you're like, oh, you just hate yourself.
Remember it. Yeah. You know, I'll give you a good tip. I'm not going to tell anybody how to eat, but I will tell you when to eat. The worst in the world is when you go make yourself some dessert, piece of pie, pizza, whatever keto unfriendly thing with the ice cream and stuff.
Anything tasty.
And you're sitting there and you're eating it. You get about a bite and a half in and somebody calls you. What you need to do is go, I'm hanging up. I'll call you when I'm done with my pie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead, you just keep talking. Like,
Yeah.
And you're eating.
It's like breathing
and sometimes I get up and walk around like I'm holding the plate. I'm like, fuck that guy. That guy thinks he's the boss of me. He's not the fucking boss of me. I'm doing angry eating. At some point, you hang up and you go, where's my pie?
I ate a whole pie.
I ate a fucking pie yelling at somebody on the phone.
You don't remember any of it?
Just hang up and go, this is my eating time.
Yep.
You should shut the TV set and just hang a piece of black Duvetine in front of you and just go, I'm just going to sit here with this pie. The conversation, especially the animated conversation when you're eating, you forget.
It's on airplane mode. Yeah.
Right.
That's so funny.
So but God bless her, she's cooking.
Oh, man, is she ever. Kids love it, but they're young, so they run them and kill 1,000,000 miles in a day. We put one of those Apple Watches on my son just to watch his steps. It's insane, dude. When he's at like summer camp, he comes back, it's like 4,000 steps.
Well, this brings up a question, which is, you got so much out of playing football and then beyond, are you going to let him play tackle football?
Yeah, if you had like a gift for it, you can tell early on. His thing's baseball. On tryouts for it's a competitive team, and the whole summer has been dedicated. He wanted to play baseball, so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to tour that much during the summer. We're going to focus on baseball, so it's been all baseball. And the tryouts are this Saturday. I'm trying not to put pressure on him. Like, it's not a big deal. Make the team not a big deal, but inside I'm like, dude, you better make this goddamn team.
Yeah.
So if baseball, guaranteed money, no concussions, is he going to go pro? Probably not. But you can tell at this age if it's for them or not. Like, you can tell, man. And if he was like really unathletic and couldn't play football, I'd be like, dude, let's hit the books.
Right.
You can tell.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because I was talking to a young guy at dinner last night, a young 17-year-old guy in the neighborhood, and I said, you going out for the football team? Because football seems, yeah, I played last year. I go, you going out this year? He goes, it's not really fun. And I'm like, fun wasn't a factor.
No. Never.
It wasn't going to be fun. You're going to be yelled at by fat dude in bike shorts who's had dip and threatened to throw his dip at me.
Nuts are hanging out the front.
Nuts hanging out. Who thought it'd toughen you up if you didn't drink water, and you're doing like jingle jangles in the heat and 2-a-days.
Call
and
it
stuff.
concussion, getting your bell rung.
Yeah, nothing was fun. I talked to a lot of kids who they go, I stopped playing high school, whatever. I go, why not? It's not fun. Everything's predicated on fucking fun now.
Yeah, it's just these pussy kids, to be honest. You know, that's what it is. But also, my son, because his friends, he'll see some of my UFC highlights. He's like, Dad, I want to fight in the UFC. I'm like, you don't, though. Right. Nobody from the UFC comes from Calabasas, California.
Right.
Okay, bud? Okay?
Right. So, speaking of that, I was thinking of Nate Diaz and Aaron Paul, or whichever Paul, Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And now they're going to get into the octagon.
Maybe. Big if. Because not to get too in the weeds with the fight game, but Nate Diaz's plan is always to fight Conor McGregor in the UFC for the third time. That's a huge payday. Mm-hmm. If he plays ball and goes to another organization in PFL who Jake Paul signed with and does that, knowing Dana White, he's not even allow him to come back. Mm-hmm. So he has to decide which one he wants to do. And I would assume he'd rather fight Conor McGregor in the UFC.
Right.
So you got to choose wisely.
But is it going to be an easier day to work if you're with a guy it just doesn't roll that way?
100%. Nate should be a minus 1,500 in that fight with jiu-jitsu, wrestling.
Right.
Because Jake's never fought MMA. People go, he wrestled in high school. I'm like, okay. I played basketball.
Right.
I'm not a basketball player.
Right. And I'm trying to think, they have kind of catch weights, I'll give you a good example. Somebody reminded me that when I was with Kevin and Bean on K-Rock with Jimmy Kimmel back in the 90s, we played dwarves in basketball.
There's video of it.
Those were really good days,
There's
man.
video. We're calling the salad days. And somebody sent me a video of taking on dwarves.
Yeah.
Kevin, Bean, me and Jimmy, and I don't know, Big Tad, or where we're all playing dwarves in basketball. And they said, well, how's it fair to the dwarves? And I said, well, they actually have an advantage. And the reason they have an advantage is because when you play against dwarves in basketball, you can't rebound out of the air. You got to let the ball bounce. That's the rule.
First.
It must hit the ground.
Oh, gotcha.
In which case, then they have an advantage because they're on the ground, right?
So then off the ricochet.
So you just stand back and let it hit the floor, and then their little goblins come in and snatch it, right? And run back to their magical kingdom.
The hobbits grab it.
Right. So is there such a thing, and they have catch weights, those guys just fought at a catch weight. Is there such a thing as a sort of hybrid MMA box thing, like, kicks, hands, no elbows, and no choking, or something?
I don't think Nate would agree to that. Nate's going to go, no, I played by your boxing rules. Now you're playing by my rules. And Nate's like a real guys fighter. Like, he's not going to entertain that bullshit.
So you don't think he'd go for a sort of modified
And I think that
version
would
of it?
hurt Jake's credibility, because his whole thing is he wants to be taken serious as a fighter. If he's like, I'll fight, but with this catch weight and these certain rules, that's not going to go over well for him. It's like Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. Everyone's trying to hate on that fight. Oh, it's a circus, and they're gonna. And Tyson Fury is like, well, I'll box you, but let's do it in MMA gloves, 4-ounce gloves. And everyone's like, no, just box.
Right.
Don't make this thing so goddamn complicated. We don't want to see you guys do this weird circus thing. Just box. That's what they're doing.
I gotta believe that Tyson Fury is going to be a heavy favorite for just boxing.
Insane favorite. And, Francis Ngannou is a buddy. His camp, I would train for 2 minutes of fury. You're not going to outclass them. You're not going to go 10 rounds wherever they're doing. But those first 2 rounds, forget everything else. Caution to the wind. If that's the difference with Francis fighting Tyson and Conor McGregor fighting Floyd. Conor doesn't have that one-shot knockout power to hit Floyd. Mm-hmm. Francis does. I don't care who you are. That thing lands, it's over. Yeah. So that's the ball. That's the game we got to play. Tell Tyson, good luck surviving these first 2 rounds.
Right.
Just go balls to the wall, because you can get outclassed. You're not going to outclass this guy. The longer this goes, the worse it is for Francis. So
Yeah.
just Homer Simpson style,
Right.
arms flailing. Hopefully something lands. If not, all good.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be my advice to him.
I heard you talking about Jake Paul and how you're saying that he doesn't deserve all the hate that he's been getting.
No.
Which I loved that clip of you online. But if you were Jake's manager, what would you tell him to do to be taken as a serious fighter?
I wouldn't care. I would not care. I'd sleep in my $40 million mansion in Puerto Rico where they're at and just ignore the hate. Because it doesn't make sense. Because when these UFC fighters are in the UFC, everyone's like, oh, they need equal pay. They've never got treated the way they should be treated. They need to have, these certain raise, and the UFC making all this money. So they complain while they're fighting the UFC. And then these legends of the UFC get out. Nobody else is paying the amount of money Jake Paul is. And they're like, oh, this is a circus. We don't support this. It's like, well, where was the energy to keep the same energy? Because now they're getting the biggest payday of their lives. They're getting paid what they're worth. And you guys are complaining. So, pick a side here. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I guess the new world order is there is no order to the world.
Correct.
Everything's just wide open. Like, you make some backyard porn, you end up the Kardashians. You know what I mean? These guys
build an empire.
You build an empire.
Sucking one chocolate dick, you build an empire.
Yeah, I mean, really. And there is nobody who could say, oh, that's a bad idea or that'll never work or whatever it is. It's just a wide open sort of wild west of entertainment, and people just vote with their wallets. And whatever you think of these people, they may be, I don't know, crazy like a fox or something. Like, could you say they're not super shrewd and super smart and super whatever? I mean, we can look down our nose at it, but they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Exactly. And there's a lane for it. Now, is it as good as, if you compare Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, or Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis, is it as good as Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence? No, of course not. Those guys it's the sweet science. They're doing a version of that their way. Like,
right.
I was doing Rogan's podcast and we were watching it live, and it just hit me because they zoom out and you see this Dallas stadium sold out. Jake's coming in on a tank. There's all these celebrities cage side. And I just looked at Rogan and I go, look what this dude's built, man. In 3 years.
Right.
This kid came from the Disney Channel. This kid was in Ohio with his brother with cell phones creating these silly YouTube videos. His brother took a private plane that he owns from the WWE they competed in the huge main event and beelined over to his brother fighting frickin' Nate Diaz. Look what these kids from Ohio, from a blue-collar family, have built. How that's not inspiring is insane to me.
Yeah, and
now I'm not saying they're going to beat Terrence Crawford, or I'm not saying they're as good as Tyson Fury. It's a different thing.
Right. But for all the people that talk shit about this country, pretty much only in America, as the great Don King would say, does this exist?
Yeah.
But it's all motor. It's all energy. And we never really talk about that part of life. Whether it's stand-up, whether it's MMA, it's really the same motor.
Correct.
It's like it's a sort of relentlessness. People always talk about, oh, you got to believe in yourself and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know that you have to believe in yourself. But you do have to just have that never-ending perpetual
relentless
motor.
pursuit.
Yeah, and so for you to go from MMA to stand-up, not many have made that journey.
I don't know any others. It's a tough gig, and I don't know when it will cross. So I mean, now more people recognize me for comedy than fighting because I haven't fought in 10 years. Even though I did get an offer to take a fight recently, but more people recognize me for stand-up and podcast than they do fighting. Right. Every now and then I'll get someone like I was just at Starbucks and the guy's like, "Oh, dude, I watch everything you do. When's the next fight?" I'm like, "Okay, you don't watch everything I do."
What takes longer to get really competent at?
Stand up.
So,
because I've been doing it 9 years. I was training for 4 years and I was top 10 in the world in the UFC.
Right.
Stand up, I'm not top 10.
You're number 12.
I'm probably number, how many are there? 300. I'm 299.
But it is interesting because it's always like it's kind of always evolving. Like it's not really about age. It's kind of about experience, and then it's like mindset, and then part of it is like looking at what other people are doing and going, "Oh, that seems cool. I like that guy's perspective."
But it's like music. Like I might love Drake. He hates Drake. I think it's great. He thinks it's the worst thing ever. So it's also, it's all subjective too. Fighting's not. It's very black and white.
Yeah.
So it's like that guy's good. He's won 10 in a row. that guy sucks. He's lost 10 in a row. Stand up, it's like he might think I'm the worst. You think I'm the best. Vice versa. I might think you're the best. He thinks you're the worst. It's all subjective.
It is, but for those with the rankings at the top, the way you get ranked is a kind of universal agreement. Like everyone go, George Carlin, fine. We can all agree that he was fantastic at this. And then there's, Bill Burr. You go, all right, everyone agrees that guy's a great stand-up, And so the he said, she said part, it's fine, but to really enter that top 10 ranking, you have to get past the he said, she said,
Correct.
And then you get into the sort of Jerry Seinfeld or whoever. We just go, everyone can agree that person's really good at that.
That guy's good at stand-up. Whether you like it or not, you know damn well he's good.
Right.
Yeah.
And your stand-up is good.
Yes.
And you've been working at
I work
it.
very hard, yeah. But if you compare me to Bill Burr, which I've had that happen, like, man, if you're going to watch a special, don't watch Brendan's, watch Bill Burr's. I'm like, yeah, no shit, dude. What? Yeah.
Well, you might get discouraged if you watch.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm on a lineup tonight at the store, and you got Mark Norman on there and some killers.
Right.
And you sit back and watch him, and you're like, Jesus. It's like if you're a young basketball player and Kobe Bryant walks in, you're like, I should probably quit now.
Well, this is a good subject, which is you want to be inspired, but not overly inspired.
Yeah.
Which leads to being intimidated.
Yes.
Which is, I used to listen to tons of morning radio, and I would listen to all the guys out here in Southern California, and I'd drive my pickup truck to the job site, and I would think, oh, shit, I'm better than these guys.
Yep.
Like, I felt like I could be better than these guys. But if I was listening to guys that I thought, there's no way I could ever do this.
You probably wouldn't even attempt.
I kind of remember once when I was like 26, and I was watching a Dennis Miller special, and he was just like rat-a-tat-tat, shotgun, deep cuts, references you had to go look up. And I remember just leaning back, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to bring it back in the truck.
I think the difference is like, obviously, when you're driving that truck on the construction site, listening to those guys on morning radio, you have a significant amount of talent. So to have that belief in yourself, and you started with this base of talent, that makes sense. There's a lot of guys who don't have that talent that are just delusional. We're like, I'm better than Adam Carolla. Right now, I'll probably listen to you, whatever, changing out the porter potty or some shit going on. I could do what Adam does. And it's like, no, you can't, though. Well, so that's the difference.
Well, see, that is interesting about comedy versus fighting versus singing, that you can't be delusional in an octagon, and if you are, it's not going to last.
Correct. Your
delusion will not last very long.
Because someone will tell you, hey, you've lost 4 in a row. We no longer want to pay you to fight. In comedy, there's those old guys been doing it 40 years. Like, man, any day now, the Tonight Show is going to call me. I'm like, I got some bad news for you, Bubba.
Right. And
Carson's going to call. I'm like, oh, man, I got bad news for you.
And football will let you know really fast if you're able to play at that level or start or whatever. The physical world lets you know really fast. I mean, even doing carpentry lets you know real fast whether you know you're a good carpenter or not. Singing should let you know, but people slip through the cracks who don't know. But it should. You can play the instrument, you can do the song, the crowd likes it or whatever. Comedy doesn't really let you know.
It does, though.
I mean, it should.
It does, though. If you're actually a mature adult and can read the room, if you're not it's pretty black and white, where if you're not getting laughs, you're not doing it very well.
I know, but
sometimes there's bad nights.
I got to say, I'm guilty of it as well. Any bad night anyone has had in front of me or me in like the last 3 years, they just walk off stage and go, "Oh, this is dead." Like, we're all externalizing, and we shouldn't.
It's their fault.
But there's a definite element of, that audience is not.
Sometimes they might be tired and whatever. And if the really good comic goes up, he might come out and be like, they're a little tough, but he does his thing. But I'll never forget, what's his name? Greg Fitzsimmons. Greg Fitzsimmons. We're at the Comedy Store, and all these comics were just eating shit, man, going out there, and they come back, go, this audience. And he's been doing it a long time. He goes, no, hold on. They paid to laugh. It's not them, you idiots.
Right.
It's you.
Right.
Go work on your stand-up. And he went out there and crushed.
Really?
Yeah.
Love Fitz.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, he's right. It's not them, it's us.
No, it is, but sometimes there's externalizations
There is.
going on. But I'm saying out of the three, mixed martial arts will let you know the following day if you should be doing this or not. Boxing, you get a little more time
They'll
to
let
be
you know,
bad,
though.
but
Yeah.
they'll let you know. Music, they'll let you know, but you can buy yourself a few years. Comedy seems to just go on in perpetuity, and and it is a weird thing that people don't know they're not funny.
It's because everyone leans into the exception. Like, Louis C.K. didn't pop to 21 years in.
Rodney
You're like,
Dangerfield was in his 70s
Yeah.
before he got his
Dude,
first laugh.
I used to be a janitor at a grocery store, and this guy, he was small, and but he wanted to be an actor, and it's not in the cards for him. He's not taking an acting class. And he looks at me dead serious. He goes, Morgan Freeman worked at a grocery store. I'm like, no, I know. He probably did. But at one point in his life, you're not Morgan fucking Freeman, dude. But it's always everyone's basing their entire identity off the exception,
Should there be,
which is good and bad.
Now, I know famously Rogan said you got to stop fighting, right? Should there be a version of that for stand-up? Should there be a tribunal where, like, other comedians just say to somebody, it's been 11 years. I just saw your
gotta
act.
move on.
It's time to get that job at the
I
supermarket
think
with
11
Morgan
years
Freeman.
I think 11 years is a good marker. But that's what like Mitzi was for, right? For Mitzi Shore at the store. She was wrong sometimes, like she turned down Seinfeld and she took some L's, but she took a lot of W's. There's that aspect of it. Like when you stop getting booked at the Improv or the Comedy Store or Laugh Factory, like, hey man, I have to go work at the grocery store.
Yeah. I haven't been to Rogan's club over there. How is it?
I didn't get a chance to go either because we did the show on Saturday. I came on Friday because Callan had shows at Cap City, the new Cap City. So I did the 2 shows with Callan at Cap City instead of going to the mothership. And then Saturday night, he was like, all right, let's go to the mothership after the fight campaign. I'm like, let's do it. And then we got done at 12:45, 1. I had a 7 a.m. flight, so I didn't get a chance.
I
heard it's great.
I heard that Joe had a Mitzi sort of speakeasy room, like a green room that was named after Mitzi Shore. Or something in
there's
there.
like the Mitzi Shore bar or something like that.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
I mean,
he does it right.
It's really what it's kind of what Kimmel does, which is you just go make a shitload of money doing something else, and then you go, I'm going to make this great environment for comedians.
And also the way he wants to. Like the bar is straight out of The Shining. Like whatever, he loves The Shining bar, so it's exact to spec bar.
Oh, really? It's like from The Shining.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because Jimmy's Comedy Club in Vegas, his bar is out of his barn house. It's exact doppelganger of the bar at his house.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a replica.
Which is funny that I brought up Jimmy's club and you brought up Joe's club, and they both had the same doppelganger.
But look
bar.
what you've done here too, like with the cars and all the the racing and stuff. Like you've built your, for lack of a better reference, like Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory. This is Adam Carolla's Fantasy Factory.
Well,
with all the cars and like the cool stuff, the vintage posters and all the old school racing, Paul Newman stuff.
Yeah,
like,
all
this
this stuff
is
is a means to get that stuff, right? Like all the comedy is a means to get maybe the Paul Newman. So like Jokic for the Nuggets, he didn't care at all about winning the championship, and then he wins the horse racing championship, and he's celebrating. He's holding that trophy. He's all giddy
on
and
a
laughing.
cart too. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Which is like I don't know how this works, but like I like cars, and you like cars.
Yes, sir.
And when I talk to dudes who don't like cars, they're not that motivated to make money. They're like, I got a 2014 Prius. I got Hulu at home.
Yeah,
I'm cool.
I usually don't talk to those guys, but I hear you.
But being invested in something, like I drove a pickup truck and it had no air conditioning in it, and I was like, first off, going on dates in a shitty pickup truck, like picking them up in a piece of shit pickup truck in the valley with no air, is a fucking bummer, man. I mean, you can just see the look on their face
Real
when they come
cock
out of
block.
the apartment.
Yeah, roll down the window, babe. She's like, what?
Serious cock block. One time I was dropping this chick back off at her apartment, and I reached down a bench seat. It's a fucking, not even I have our own seat with no headrest, you know. And I reached down under the bench seat, and I like pulled out a bottle of red wine, you know, and I go, maybe we go back up to your unit and work on this. And she's like, yeah, you can just drink that yourself, and you can drink it in the park. Or
Yeah, the
whatever.
warm wine, the warm red wine.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work out for
it was
you.
right against the transmission hump. It was rolling around there the whole time.
Splashing around.
But I was like, I want a car. I want a real car.
Yeah.
I want a cool car. I don't want to drive a truck.
Yep.
And then I go, I don't have any money. So then I got like literally motivated to make money because I wanted something. And I bet that factors in. Like
100%.
as much as everyone wants to talk about art all the time, a lot of it is like, I want that fucking Porsche. That's $329K.
Yep.
And I want it.
Whatever it takes to do it. It's
Right.
going to get you up in the morning. And then also, yeah, because I assume you're a similar way. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be famous. I don't care about any of that. I care about getting good at stand-up. Hopefully people come. The fame, I guess, comes with the territory, but I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game.
I wonder if you could. Here's an interesting test. One time I was driving through Pasadena 25 years ago. I see this really hot chick in a convertible Aston Martin, probably DB7 at the time. And I was like, ooh, Aston Martin, that's a cool car. And it's convertible, and it's a hot blonde. And I'm like, that's Sharon Stone. So Sharon Stone is just driving through the streets of Pasadena with the top down in an Aston Martin. And I'm like, she must get followed home
Yeah.
3 times a week, right? Because people... Now, so here's the litmus test. I've never owned a convertible just because I just want to drive and not... I don't want anyone to go, hey, it's that guy. I didn't want anyone to go, hey, it's a convertible. I just want to scoot along and just kind of slide under the
thing,
radar.
yeah.
But I wonder if the convertible people are kind of the Mason-Dixon line of... Because you go, I don't care about the fame. I don't need to be recognized. I just want to get paid. I want to be respected in this community. And then you leave the room and everyone goes, bullshit, that prima donna fucking loves it.
Yeah, loudest
And he wants
car,
Right,
green,
right,
yeah.
right. And then they always pick out something. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you have an exhaust system on your Ferrari then if you don't want, you know? But I would say the convertible might be the way to really test if somebody wants to be noticed or not.
What if you have a convertible and you leave the top up?
What do you got?
I get a 430, F430 Ferrari. It's a Spider. So the only reason I did it, I don't like convertibles. The only reason I did it's worth more. So I was like, all right, it's an investment.
All right.
I leave the top up.
I'll give you a pass.
But I have rolled it down. Like, you feel like an asshole. You just feel like such a tool. Your hair's flapping in the wind. You know, you just feel like, you know.
All right, we got Ami Horowitz is out there. Very interesting dude. We'll bring him in. I have a big subject to get into with Brendan and Ami, and they're both sort of uniquely qualified to get into that. So be prepared for a lot, and we'll do that right after this. So when I talk about Lear Capital, I'm trying to help you understand what portfolio protection can look like. I'm sitting here holding some coins that were sent to me by our partner, Lear Capital, and the world isn't what it used to be. Our government is so focused on Ukraine, Russia, China, and 100 other things. Who's looking out for you? Here's a little hard news. Russia and China are discussing a trade group potentially backed by gold. They're trying to ditch the dollar and partner with trade partners like India and Brazil, using gold as an alternative currency to the U.S. dollar. Why wouldn't you want to take a peek at owning a little gold for yourself? Do me a favor. Call 800-498-6450, mention my name, and ask for a free investment guide. Educate yourself and learn more about diversifying or even beginning a portfolio plan. So you're probably listening to me on your phone right now. Just dial it up, 800-498-6450, and mention my name, Adam Carolla. That is 800-498-6450. and let them know that Adam Carolla sent you at Lear Capital. Let me tell you about Angie homeowners. You know, it's a lot of work to own a home, whether it's everyday maintenance, repairs, or dream projects. It can be hard to even know where to start. All you need is Angie, your home for everything home. Find a skilled local pro who will deliver quality and experience. Over 20 years of home service experience. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie handles the rest. Look, you're busy. You don't have time to do all this stuff. Let Angie handle it. Take care of just about any home project in just a few taps. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit online. Visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. ANGI.com. That's Angie. Let them do all the heavy lifting.
As we celebrate 14 years of podcasting, here's another memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
I got fired about a month ago from a very well-paying gig for doing a Norm Macdonald joke.
Whoa.
Let's hear the joke.
What's the joke?
Well, I know how much Norm hates this, so I'm going to do the least insulting impression of him as I possibly can. I'm not going to do
Nah, you can do the Jay Moore shit. I don't care.
I hosted a show at Harry Potter World. I introduced the dancers. I go, please welcome the beautiful ladies of the Beauxbatons Academy of Magic. I switch from the British accent when I go backstage and not knowing that my microphone is still on. I looked at my stage manager and I said, hey, Kyle, you know this Harry Potter guy? You know, he murdered a guy in cold blood back in '88 in a Texas bar fight. You know, it only been like 10 seconds, but that's a long 10 seconds.
They let you go.
I haven't worked since.
Oh, I would feel bad, except you did that impression that you said you weren't going to do.
Now, for some new memorable moments, let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Oh, Norm, we miss you, man.
So much.
I got to say, though, I'm really grateful, and I'm almost never grateful. That's part of my charm. But I was able to record digitally so much shit with Norm before he passed that I sometimes will go back and just listen to us breaking down Kenny Rogers' Coward of the County or something like that for 20 minutes, and it's like he's still with us.
Yeah.
Ami Horowitz is in studio as a documentarian, as a filmmaker. It says activist, but I don't know.
Did I say that?
It says it on here.
Some
but
people call you that.
That may be a bridge too far.
What about Sex Machine? Why is that on the list?
Yeah, that's below activist. Brendan Schaub hanging out as well. Ami's the guy who does all these crazy videos that no one else would do because it seems insane and scary.
What's your most well-known video?
The most well-known for sure is the voter ID video. That's at like 80 million views, 90 million views.
Oh, wow.
Across all platforms.
So you go into the black community and you go...
Well, I start at Berkeley.
Right.
And interviewing white people.
Right.
I go, what's wrong with voter ID laws? Oh, well, they're racist. Well, why are they racist? Well, black people can't get on the internet. Black people don't know where the DMV is. Black people can't get IDs.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that is so racist.
That's so racist.
I know.
And black people, a lot of black people are in jail. So they can't get ID. I got that one too.
Wow.
And then I go to Harlem. I'm like, do you have ID? Like, fuck yeah, I have ID. What are you, an idiot?
It's insane. It's so much more racist than any racist trope. You know what I mean? Like if you go, oh, black guys all got a huge cock or a great vertical or love fried chicken or something. That's mildly racist, but still means you have a big cock and you got a bucket of chicken. I mean, how bad is your day?
I'd like to be known
if
for
I
that.
had a fucking bucket of the kernels between, no, I couldn't put it between my legs because my hog's too big. I'd have to have it off to the side. And I have a really thin waist, so it's no problem. Just plenty of room on this dinette chair. But I could tell you, but like really going like, these people aren't capable of taking care of themselves. Like that is the most of all racist.
But it's also the lack of self-awareness for them to know. They're saying these things and they don't seem even like remotely troubled by what they're saying. They're like, oh yeah, no, they don't know how to get on the internet.
Right.
Those people.
Yes, and then what I always say is, if this is in fact true, like let's just say black people have no access to IDs. Shouldn't you guys be trying to fund ID mobiles to drive into the inner city and sign people up? Or should we just keep explaining that they can't get IDs? Ugh.
No, that would take away the point, right? The point is they want to be able to push this narrative. They don't want to solve it.
Right.
Solving it is a problem for them.
But have we heard any black people say that? It's just white people. It's like liberal white people.
White people, of course.
Right.
Of course.
And it also, I don't think the white people even think it's a problem. I think they just like the narrative part. I don't think they actually think black people cannot get an ID.
Conflate race with class. So, for example, the pushback I would get on that particular video was, well, if you go to rural Alabama, they can't get ID like they can in Harlem. But there's more white, first of all, I'm not sure even that's true, but even if it is true, there are more poor white people in urban Alabama or North Carolina who technically not be able to get ID also. It's not a race issue. If that was true, it's a class issue.
Correct.
But they can't differentiate between those two things. Which, by the way, is also racist, which means all poor people are black in their minds.
Yes. I know. I love it when they slip up, like when Biden's like, a lot of poor people and black people and smart people and white people don't have, like, when he's giving a speech and he's like, black people, they're great at business. They just they can't get lawyers and they can't get accountants. It's like, so they're great at business, but they just have access to accounting firms?
Oh, I did a video.
Oh, it's so
called
weird.
Is This Racist? Mm-hmm. And then I went around, Harlem, asking black people about quotes, not telling them they're Joe Biden quotes. I said, how racist is this? They're like, 10, 9, holy, who said that? Trump, right? I was like, no, Joe Biden. Like, what? Yeah. Like, go through his quotes about black people. It is insane how racist they are.
My favorite new one is like they're talking about extra baggage fees on commercial airlines. And they're like, this disproportionately affects poor people and people of color. And I'm always like, it affects Jay-Z and Beyonce? Like, so poor people and then just black people randomly, like even if it's Dr. Huxtable? Like, so poor people and black people. Like, wow, that's a whole new strata. I never even thought about that one.
To be fair, when I think about the most significant problems plaguing our country today, baggage fees is always the top three. Always top three.
Gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, what's worse than that?
Keeps
the
me
border?
Up.
Screw that.
Yeah, forget
baggage
that.
fees.
I don't even get why that's a thing. Like, you can fly with one bag for free, but if you want to fucking pull a steamer with sand in it, then we're going to charge you for that. You have an option. Don't fill a steamer trunk with fucking diatomaceous earth.
It's going to cost you if you do that.
Just get the duffel like I got. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I never get why people are incensed. Like, it's weight, it's Jet A, and by the way, you're lucky they're not charging extra for your fat ass, by the way.
It just adds more issues for couples traveling when the woman's like overpacking. Like, now is she overpacking? Now it's costing me extra money.
Well, me at my finest, me and Mike August on the road at our finest, we just had this. It's really, you've never looked more desperate and sadder than we're at Southwest. We got the merch bag. You know what I mean? The merch bag has 50 books in it and is 22 pounds
you always have to check merch.
Overweight, right? So now the merch bag is 77 pounds. We got a 50-pound weight limit. And while people are waiting for us in line, Mike and I are frantically stripping the merch bag and stuffing shit in duffel bags and stuffing shit in other bags. And we're going, if we can take the load and we can spread it out. And then we're doing this hypothetical, like, what's a book? What's a book? A pound? It's about a pound a book.
Yeah.
Wait, how many pages is it? Is it an audiobook? No, you idiot. This book. Figure a pound a book. All right, so that's 22 books, and people are like waiting, and we're mashing them into another bag.
And how much merch did you sell?
No. But what happens is after the late show on Saturday night, I was like, I'm not dragging this fucking merch bag home. Everybody, and some guy'd like come up and he'd be like, I got $5 in a swizzle stick. And I'd be like, you're good. Take
book
this,
and a shirt.
Take this book.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's
such a
it's
hassle.
a sad tableau, right?
Did you have like that line with like the prices all crossed out underneath? $20, $10,
Liquidating.
$5.
No, but what
Must go.
What it is it's not for the money. The merch isn't for the money. The merch is just to get a little cash in your hand because it's the cash part. You only need the cash for the valet guys now, but to get a little cash. But the bigger thing is, and I don't know if you know this, Ami, you may, when you write a book, when you're done writing the book, at some point the publisher goes, we got 3,000 units left. Do you want them? And you go, okay. And then they bring you boxes of your books, like unopened boxes, and you get 3,000 units. And you then get those units out 40 books at a time, a weekend at a time. It's like The Great Escape when they were tunneling and they all went out to the yard and they were shaking their pant leg and the dirt they were digging out of the tunnel was dropping down. That's what you do with your 3,000 books. Like, I don't even know what we're at anymore, Chris, but you get thousands of books.
And do you have to pay for the books? Like, is it on you? You get them at like a bulk discount? And you sell them to make profit?
I think they give them to you, but by the time
they were trying to offload the books we have.
I had that with DVDs. So my movie, we had like 50,000 DVDs, and then like, okay, it's been 2 years, we've got 10,000 left.
Mm-hmm.
Where should we send it to? I'm like, and I can't do the math, like how much is, so I like just send it to my house. And you get 20 fucking boxes of DVDs. I was like, what am I going to do with all these DVDs? Who even watches DVDs anymore?
Zero people.
So literally, I've been taking them.
Tough sell.
I'm down to like 5,000 DVDs. I've been taking them from apartment to apartment. I've moved with them finally, on this last move in New York, I was like, I'm just throwing them away.
Well, I know. So Ami is he's a man on the move, and I was laughing with him about BIN, which is the Black Information Network, which is on the radio, on the FM dial, and I listen to it all the time. And I'm enamored with it.
It's your new obsession.
It's my new obsession is the Black Information Network.
Who's the host?
Multiple.
Hell yeah.
Multiple people. And so I was talking to Ami off the air, and I was sharing my experience with the Black Information Network, and then Ami has the chutzpah, as people
nice
say,
word,
to call them up and book himself
because of you
on the weekend show.
Yeah,
offering the Jewish perspective on
what are you doing there?
Now wait, Brendan doesn't know. So if you have the actual BIN, this is we're not cooking this or doctoring this. This is their network. Yeah.
I'm Ashley Young on the Black Information Network. On March 2nd, 1955, Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old in Montgomery, Alabama, a high school student, boarded a bus in downtown Montgomery. She and 3 other black students were told to give up their seats for a white woman. Colvin refused to give up her seat, was arrested, and eventually put on indefinite probation. Though Colvin's courageous act occurred 9 months before Rosa Parks' similar protest, the NAACP chose to use the 42-year-old civil rights activist as the public face of the Montgomery bus boycott. As they believed, an unwed mother, Colvin became pregnant when she was 16, would not be the best face for the movement. Colvin felt slighted, but later joined 3 other women, Mary Louise Smith, Aurelia Browder, and Susie McDonald, as the plaintiffs in Browder versus Gale, the case that ultimately overturned bus segregation in Alabama. And that's a fact. For these stories and more, go to BINnews.com.
Play me another one that has some more of the stings and stuff in it. By the way, none of the people in those stories had IDs. Just so you know. I wish I was made a hero every time I refuse to get up and move.
Yeah.
I would be such a hero. I felt like I'm sitting here. Get up and move. I'm good.
It sounds like that lady just didn't have good PR team, and Rosa Parks did.
She got knocked out.
She was the first one.
They didn't like the optics of it. All right, do we have... Yeah.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Republicans want to tie a debt ceiling increase to federal spending cuts. Democrats called the GOP bill an extreme MAGA wish list.
When you need to know,
this is where Black news comes first.
This is BIN on iHeartRadio.
Entertainment news on the Black Information Network.
The Black Information Network.
Follow us on Twitter at BlackInfoNet.
So,
Black Information
all right.
Network.
So, Ami, you're on this network
So
now.
look, you know me. I'm a doer. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a doer.
You're
So
going
when
to have you as a Jewer.
That's right. When you start playing BIN, all I could think about was like, because I do a lot of videos on race, right? Probably a third of my videos are all about race. I find it fascinating and important. So I said, well, this is a great way to get my videos on my opinions on race across to a large black. They have 83. I think it's the largest black syndication radio network in the country. 83 markets. Mm-hmm. So I cold called this guy named Ramses Jaw, who is like the main host, the most popular host in the show. Mm-hmm. Ramses Jaw and Q Ward. I don't know if it's the best podcast in the country, but definitely the best two names of podcasters in the country. Mm-hmm. And I cold called them. Look, I listened to his show first. Look, for sure, a leftist, right? But it seemed intellectually curious to me. Mm-hmm. So I found his cell phone, cold called him, and flatteringly, he knew who I was, watched my videos. Said, look, I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I like what you say and how you say it. So he goes, what do you want? I go, I'd like to come on the show regularly to talk about issues of race. And he goes, done. So now I'm going on like every month with these guys. It's like part of my repertoire.
But,
awesome.
We were just talking, Brendan and I, like, it's just motor. Everything is motor. Like, everything is just, I told you, that, you didn't even know there was a thing called the Black Entertainment Network, Information Network. I told you 5 minutes later, you find some guy's cell phone number, you're inviting yourself on the show, and next thing you know, you're sitting in.
I got a monthly slot, man.
He's on there once a month.
I love it.
We also put together a white information network, too, Dawson, as an offering for us.
WIN, the White Information Network. Coming up this hour, Donald Trump, a white man, indicted again. Snow White, played by a Mexican? And will white dwarves boycott the movie? White News, the White Information Network. The Dog Days of Summer returned at the 25th annual Take Your Dog to Work Day. But it ended in tragedy in Walnut Creek, California, when Karen Gross, a white woman, tripped over a water bowl and spent the day in the emergency room. WIN, the White Information Network, coming up on WIN. Barry White, Reggie White, Michael Jai White, as our in-depth feature, Black Whites, continues. Our white woman on the street, Brittany Smith, is in Tallahassee, Florida, to see if you can tell the difference between Dylan Mulvaney, Dylan McDermott, or Dermot Mulroney. All day, all night, all white. The White Information Network. Elon Musk, a white man, has his flashy new sign taken down piece by piece in less than 3 days as San Francisco declares war on the South African. Coming up, WIN asks the question, is child abuse more serious when the child is white? Our review of Meet the Duggars coming up. White News, White Now. WIN, the White Information Network.
So, Ami, you can tell them we're nipping at their heels.
Yeah. I know, man. That was a new one. Dawson, that was a new one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So there is, on this subject, and I feel like you guys are pretty well qualified to answer this. I study the news because my news sort of obsession is like, what the fuck's the news up to? And it's not really what are the politicians up to, and it's not really what are the celebrities up to, because everyone has has their marching orders, or at least they have. Like you take something like COVID, I was like, all right, I get the celebrities. They're fucking pussies and they like their jobs and it's a popularity contest. So they're just going to say whatever there is to say. And I kind of get what the politicians are doing, but my obsession is what's the news doing? How did they get sucked into this
like CNN?
Vortex? Yeah, CNN for sure. But even USA Today, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Reuters, NPR. Like, it's not just Fox versus CNN, as I would say. It's Fox versus 128 outlets. How did they get sucked into this world? And I think it's much more nefarious than we give it credit for, because people just kind of go, well, Fox has their agenda, CNN has their agenda, so what are you going to do? It evens out. But I was listening to a story in the New York Post, and you guys tell me, I'll see if I wrote the gentleman's name. Do you know the name? Oh, let's see if I have it here. Yeah, it's O'Shea Sibley.
No.
Now, Ami, if you don't know it, then...
I sure as hell don't.
All right.
If you don't, I don't.
All right. A week and a few days ago, like 10 days ago, there's a young, like 30-year-old, I think, gay, black dancer who's like choreographer and a background dancer and all that stuff. And he's in Brooklyn, and he's dancing with his friends. Like they're filling up their gas. They're at a gas station, and he's a choreographer, dancer, young guy. And he's dancing, and a group approaches him and tells him, knock it off. Like, we don't like dancing. They're white guys, ostensibly. And then one guy, white guy, ostensibly, pulls out a knife and stabs him to death. Oh, wow. So now we have, in Brooklyn, a black gay man who was stabbed to death for dancing. So I heard the story, quickly kind of glossed over on CNN, and I was like, oh my God, I got to go buy plywood. Like, this nation's going to be on fire in a second, because you got black, you got gay, and you got dancing, and you got stabbed. This wasn't, he said, she said, bad cop shooting.
Intersectional trifecta.
Just
check.
Stabbed to death. And I was like, how come we're not hearing anything about this? Like, this is perfect. Why isn't CNN got, why isn't Reverend Al on and Jesse Jackson? Why aren't the race hustlers on? Why isn't this a big deal? Why aren't we doing 24/7, sort of George Floyd stuff?
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anything. And then I hear this article, which was from a guy named Douglas Murray. He's a British author, very smart guy.
O'Shea Sibley was a talented 28-year-old dancer and choreographer. He was stabbed to death last Saturday night at a gas station in Brooklyn. Words were exchanged. Sibley was stabbed. His friends and bystanders called 911 to try to help him. He bled to death on the sidewalk. And we'll get to the big chunk of it. Had the group who confronted Sibley and his friends been white and shouted that they didn't like gay people or black people, this country would be in meltdown right now. All the community groups would make a profession out of campaigning against the hate, would be in full fundraising mode. The New York Times would have cleared the pages for days of reflections on what this said about America. But that is not what happened. Here's what happened. One of the friends who was with Sibley when he was murdered posted a photo on social media of the bloodied sidewalk and wrote, "They hated us because we are gay," screaming, "We Muslim, and we don't like gays," as we are innocently pumping gas and y'all decided to stab one of us. Perhaps the media were simply cautious about reporting this, given that it was only one eyewitness. Yet there is a second witness who has spoken to a local website. An employee at the gas station said that the flamboyant behavior of Sibley and his friends offended the other group because the other group were Muslims. Here's what the gas station employee said. "These people were like, 'We're Muslim. I don't want you dancing.' The gay people, they were trying not to fight." Yet these facts don't fit the narrative. The victim was gay and black. The perpetrator was Muslim. Our era is obsessed with hate crimes so much that it sees them in places where they don't even happen. Yet last Saturday in Brooklyn was a hate crime, and the media are covering it up. I'll continue. The fact that the men were Muslim is why the media has been actively dishonest in its reporting, despite the story going around the world.
By the way, I quizzed everyone in this building, including you two, in real time. No one had heard of this story.
Nope.
My question is, what dance was he doing?
The New York Times has written about the
gave
case,
him away?
but it has not bothered to inform its readers of why Sibley bled out on a Brooklyn sidewalk. Had the Times even had a whiff of this being a white-on-gay hate crime, they wouldn't have waited for one eyewitness, let alone two. They would have told all, speculated about everything, and asked what this said about this country and everyone in it. But because the identity and the motive of the perpetrators are an awkward glitch in that paper's big narrative, the Times simply covered the facts. The Guardian went one worse. That paper quoted Sibley's friend, who was quoted above, But they actually edited out the detail about the attackers being Muslim and the words they said, because again, it doesn't fit the narrative. The most that newspaper could bring itself to say was that an eyewitness said that the perpetrators mentioned defending their religious beliefs during the confrontation. Apparently, dancing to Beyonce can be an assault on some people's religious beliefs. But whose? The Guardian wouldn't tell you. It is happy to leave its readers with the impression that that white Christian rednecks or Orthodox Jews might have carried out the killing. Shamefully, the gay press has done the same in their usual betrayal of the people they claim to speak for.
All right. We get it. So here's the point. In order to perpetrate or perpetuate this, white supremacy is the biggest problem, this fucking bullshit false narrative, which is horrible and destructive, and it's sad and sick and irresponsible when celebrities or politicians talk about it. But it's a two-way street. You have to fluff up the white stuff. You got to see if you can add a little creatine to whatever Whitey's doing.
Domestic terrorism.
Right. And then you have to squash everything else that fights that narrative. Because I think if you told most people in this country, especially black people, if you went, all right, yeah, there's white guys who do horrible shit. Guess what? There's a bunch of black people who do horrible shit, a bunch of Muslims who do horrible shit. There's just a bunch of people who do horrible shit. So nothing personal. That's just who we are. But when the media got so involved with setting narratives, that's the scary part about the chapter we're in right now. If they would just report the news, then we could all decide on our own whether we should get vaccinated or wear a mask or use hydroxychloroquine or we're living in a tyrannical racist nation. We could decide. But if you are going to squash every story about a hate crime that was committed by anybody except for a white heterosexual male, then what chance do we have?
You're crazy if you don't think Wall Street Journal interviewed those Muslims at that guy and go, but are you MAGA Muslims?
Right.
No. All right, we don't have a story here.
Yeah. And of course, at some point, people are going to take to the streets and start burning down buildings if you just keep hammering them over the fucking head with this. But isn't it it's Orwellian, but kind of insane, right?
Well, that doesn't get clicks, right? It doesn't carry their narrative, and it's not going to make the headlines and get clicks because people go, whatever.
When did they get in the narrative business is what I'm saying.
Oh, my God. So long ago. Yes. Look, I learned everything about racism when I was like 12. Can I tell like a 2-minute story?
Yeah.
Okay. So I learned about racism when I was 12 years old. So my father grew up in Los Angeles in the 50s. He grew up very poor. So he went to a poor kids camp here in Glendale, actually, called Camp McStrauss. And so when I became 12 and I was going to go to camp, my dad I want to go to the camp that I went to. So I was like, great. I went to Camp McStrauss. Now, in the 80s, poor people in Los Angeles were black people. So I went to this camp. I was the only white kid in a camp of 400 black kids. And growing up in the Valley, in New York, when you grow up in New York, it's you understand, there's Puerto Ricans, there are Italians. In LA, we didn't have that differentiation, right? So to me, there was just a bunch of black kids that my age are all going to be friends and hang out. And what I learned was that I was different, right? So I was the subject of all their ire. I remember the first maybe 20 minutes I got to camp, this bunch of black guys were next to me, all my age, but twice the size of me. And they go, wait, you're Jewish? And I go, yeah, because I told them my name. They go, you killed Jesus. So I go,
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, was Jamie Foxx there?
Yeah, no, literally. So I said, look, I've always, through the course of my life, even through now, my mouth writes checks, my body can't cash. Right. So I go, you better step off or the next person being killed by a Jew is you. And they started laughing. And I thought, okay, I disarmed them with a joke. The laughter stopped and they beat the shit out of me.
Hell yeah.
I was there for 2 weeks. Every day I caught beatings until I learned how to fight. I learned how to fight 2 weeks. Every day was Fight Club.
Dad didn't want to pull you out of the camp?
What's that?
Dad didn't want to pull you out of the camp?
There was no cell phones. I can't contact my.
It was overnight.
This is 2 weeks. Overnight 2 weeks, man.
It's tough,
man.
And
look,
at one point, I had to hit a guy across the face with a rock. That's how I had to learn how to fight. But the point is, oh, by the way, this camp, just so you know, one of the counselors, not in my year, killed 12 people. White man, of course. Only white men kill, remember Aurora, Colorado? That killing there?
That's where I'm from.
Okay, so this guy was a counselor in my camp.
This is America's Black Voice.
So what I learned was that, look, it's not about color, it's about different. Everybody has an issue with different.
Different, yeah.
Right? And in that point, I was the different one. It was an issue of power dynamic as a white guy who was like, look, we had the power because we're a group of people. You're different. We're going to fuck you up.
Yeah. What's going on with that camp counselor, though? Why was he so angry?
I don't know.
He's working that.
He's been in jail for a long time, but maybe could have been, man.
Wait, wasn't Aurora the one where the guy went in the movie theater?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
that was him.
Yeah, he was a counselor at a few years later in my camp.
The guy dressed up like the Joker. Or something?
That was at the Dark Knight.
Oh wow!
Proud Cat McStrauss alone.
Wow. I know you have an entry for Have Some Asthma Award.
I do.
Or Get Some Asthma. Which one is it?
Get
get
How do you not know that?
I can't remember because I always say have some asthma, but I mean, we'll play the Jimmy. Brennan, you'll like this because it's football, but play.
Son, are you part of this group? Yes, I have asthma. Asthma, my get over there on that other field and have some asthma. Get out of here.
The good days.
I try to explain to people that's what football is. Some guy screaming at you.
Correct.
And there's nothing.
That's not fun.
There's nothing you can say.
Look, all I remember was playing baseball in the valley at 14 years old. There was no water. Like if you had water, you're a pussy. Right?
It was a sign of weakness.
They just gave me salt pills. Get some salt pills. Yeah. Coach Dick would just give me salt pills.
Yeah, the thing about baseball is, all right, two things. You don't have the uniform. You don't have the helmet and the pads and the stuff, which just totally exacerbates the entire heat situation, the helmet. The other thing is about baseball versus football, because I always played them both. In baseball practice, you get to play baseball, or a form of baseball. You take BP, you go to the outfield, you shag balls, you hit infield. You're playing baseball. Football, if you play some interior lineman or something, you just hit a sled or drag a truck tire in a circle. You don't touch a football. Yeah. There's no football being played. It's just more torture.
Yeah.
The skilled guys are running outs and working on their timing and stuff. The non-skilled guys or the defensive guys, it's just more drilling.
Drilling concussions.
And
also back in the day, it was always you got your bell rung. Once you sit out of play, you got your bell rung. Now we know it's a concussion.
Oh, we'd laugh. He's walking to the wrong huddle. Yeah, remember that?
Get back in there. Yeah, you went the wrong way, man.
So, Ami, do you have some asthma award nominee?
I do. I absolutely do. So, we all know.
Wait, do we have an intro for it? All right.
Honor, respect, courage, asthma.
Right there. Get in there, beast.
It's time for this week's Jimmy Johnson Have Some Asthma Award.
Are you part of this group? Yes, I have asthma. Asthma, my get over there on that other field and have some asthma.
All right, your nominee is...
So the great Tom Hanks gave birth to the great Chet Hanks.
Yes.
The rapper, the world's... Absolutely.
Chet's
one of the world's great...
Yeah.
He's known for doing Jamaican accents.
Mm-hmm.
And he was taken to task when he was at an interview. I don't know who the woman was. She's up on the screen right now.
Z-Way?
Z-Way. That's her name?
Yeah.
Okay. And she confronted him and said, do you want to apologize for cultural appropriation of Jamaica? And his response
She's
was...
a proud woman of color. All right.
Are there any marginalized communities you want to apologize to? I don't know, maybe the Patois community?
He's thinking, he's mulling it over.
He's all...
I don't feel like I've truly done anything offensive, so...
You don't see it as cultural appropriation. You see it as like a celebration of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like social justice warriors can like go kick rocks.
Yeah.
He's good at it, too. That's the thing.
She's pissed.
Take a sip, yeah.
No comment. Got it.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. Social justice warriors can kick rocks.
Have some asthma.
Hero of the Republic.
That's a prime example.
Get out of here.
Now get on that other field and have some asthma.
Well, maybe we'll get into it with the news, but listen, I swear to God, I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting in my car warehouse a block from here on 2 chairs, set up, doing the sort of long-form interview with Tucker Carlson, and it was like 6-7 years ago, and he's like, when does this end? When does this craziness end? And I said, when we stop apologizing.
Yes.
The second we stop, it'll end. The craziness will end. Now, not apologizing is up like 183% in the last like 14 months. Have you noticed?
Did you see Neo, the music artist?
We'll get to that. Yeah,
Well, you know what? We'll lead off the news with it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it.
No, that's good. I'm glad you brought him up because the only way it stops is if we can get people to just tell them to kick rocks. So you're right. That was Chet Hanks, man. Have some asthma.
And kick rocks.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Come back, we'll do the news. Start with Neo right after this. Just Thrive. So much stress. Oh, you just want to hit the pause button in life and breathe. Well, Just Calm from Just Thrive can help. Just Calm's all-natural blend of mood-lifting psychobiotics and brain-nourishing B vitamins helps you take back control and make you feel your most cool and collected self. Multiple studies prove it works quickly to soothe everyday stress and sharpen focus in as little as 4 weeks. Or try Just Thrive Probiotic, a spore-based probiotic that banishes gas and bloat in your gut and can produce more serotonin. That's your happy hormone. Plus, it supports better sleep. I took mine. I went about 3 or 4 hours ago, right before I started doing the podcast. I take it every day. I've met with the co-founder, Tina, and her husband. We went out to dinner. It's a real product. They believe in it, and I take it. Just Thrive. Right, Dawson?
With Just Calm and Just Thrive Probiotic, you'll have the ultimate stress-fighting duo to help you feel cool, collected, and in control. Get 20% off your first 90-day bottle of Just Calm and Just Thrive Probiotic today. Visit JustThriveHealth.com and use promo code ADAM.
Let me tell you about O'Reilly Auto Parts. Wow. You want to save some money? You want to save some gas? Here's a few things you can do to improve your fuel mileage. Check your tire pressure, people. If the tire pressure is low in 1 or more tires, you're going to use a lot more gas. Check out your owner's manual or inspect the tire yourself to find the recommended pressure. O'Reilly Auto Parts carries a wide range of tire gauges to make it easy to check your tires on a regular basis. It's also a lot safer when they're properly inflated. Always keep your fuel system clean. A fuel injector or carburetor cleaner is a simple, affordable way to remove carbon deposits and moisture from the fuel system and can improve the performance and efficiency of your engine. How about changing a clogged air filter? As an air filter clogs with dirt and debris, airflow becomes restricted and cause your vehicle's fuel management system to use more gas. Changing clogged filters increases the amount of air available to your engine, which boosts your fuel economy. For all the money-saving gas tips you need this summer, ask the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts or go to O'ReillyAuto.com. Brendan Schaub hanging out. Got dates coming up. Stand Up Live in Phoenix. That'll be this Friday. And then Omaha, Nebraska. Funny Bone Comedy Club, August 16th. Kansas City, Missouri Improv Comedy Club, August 17th. For all the dates, just go to thick with 3 C's, boy.com. Ami Horowitz hanging in. Website, AmiHorowitz.com. Max Pattis got the news. Start with Neo. Yeah.
Trusted Black News.
The Black Information Network.
All right, so Neo, musician, singer, over the weekend, he appeared in an interview with Gloria Velez for Vladtv in which they criticized parents for allowing their children to have a say in their own gender identity from a young age. So I
love it criticized
I know. So here's a
Mario Lopez got in trouble with this.
Yeah, he did.
Did he apologize?
Probably.
He did.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy that we have
Mario Lopez.
literally less than 2% of the country dragging everyone around by the fucking short hairs.
Yes.
It's insane. It's insane what we become, but it's everyone's fault but mine. Go ahead.
So here's Neo talking about it. Here's the original clip.
If your little boy comes to you and says, "Daddy, I want to be a girl," And you just let him rock with that? You just let...
Right.
He's 5.
Right. And where did he get that
If
from?
you let this 5-year-old boy decide to eat candy all day, he's going to do that.
Exactly.
Like, when did it become a good idea to let a 5-year-old, let a 6-year-old, let a 12-year-old make a life-changing decision for themselves?
Right.
When did that happen?
Right.
Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's the same people arguing that they want to raise the age that you can purchase a gun to 21, but if you want to get your cock cut off at 7.5,
they're cool with it.
They're totally cool with it.
Well,
it's a little inconsistent.
When I was a kid, I loved RoboCop. That's my favorite movie. I wanted robotic arms when I was 7. I told my dad, I'm like, take me to the doctor, put robotic arms on. My dad went, you're 7. When you're 21, if you want robotic arms, feel free to do it. But at 7, I'm not going to rip your arms off and put robotic arms on.
I want a
Can you
robotic
imagine
cock.
Can you imagine if he allowed me to do that? Then when I'm 21, I'm like, what the hell? I have robotic arms. He's like, you wanted it. You were 7.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
So I did a video last year where I had a hidden camera, and I went to UCLA, and I had a fake petition for a 5-year-old girl of color who wanted to medically transition, but her bad parents wouldn't let her. Will you sign this petition to support a 5-year-old medically transition, not putting a dress on, medically transitioning? And they all signed it.
A boy to become a girl.
A boy to come and go cut off his dick, the whole thing. And I'm telling you, they all signed it. At one point, this girl goes, wait a second, how old? I go, okay, I finally found it. I go 5. He goes, oh, that's old enough to make that kind of decision.
Oh my God.
This is on camera. Okay,
It's insane.
On camera.
So the story continues.
So story continues. Neo gets some backlash,
Right.
And so he, I'll say in quotes, releases a statement, and it says, after much reflection, I'd like to express my deepest apologies to anyone that I may have hurt with my comments on parenting and gender identity. And it's a long apology. And
by the way, the sort of after much reflection, it sounds like a Maoist struggle session, like it's so Orwellian. Like
it's literally what it is.
It's literally. I always think of that Twilight Zone thing where the kid's wishing everyone into the cornfield, and it's like, it's a real good thing you did, Bobby. It's a real good thing. It's a real good thing. You turn that guy into a Jack in the Box, and that's a real good thing. It's a real. You arguing with it? No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're doing. It's so fucking crazy that people, after much reflection, and I also like
it's a teachable moment.
I like when they want to educate themselves too.
He did say that. He said, I can better educate myself.
Don't most people, like I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's not coming from him.
Yeah.
That's a PR team.
Well,
I assume most people are like, oh, this is all crap.
Doesn't matter. Your name is on it. You are responsible for that comment.
Correct.
Well,
that came from your social media.
That's what you think. So he gets very upset because that was PR, and he announced it. So he makes a video of himself, and he says, look, I want to make this clear, quote, from the horse's mouth, not the publicist's computer. And this is the video he posted from his car.
What's going on, loved ones? This is Neo. All right, listen. I normally don't give too much of a damn about what y'all think about what I do, what y'all have to say about what I say, whatever. I normally don't care because, like I said, opinions ain't special. Everybody got one. However, this is something I feel very strongly on, and I need y'all to hear this from the horse's mouth, not the publicist's computer. So check this out. First and foremost, I do not apologize for having an opinion on this matter. I am a 43-year-old heterosexual man raising 5 boys and 2 girls, okay? That's my reality. Now, if my opinion offended somebody, yeah, sure, I apologize for you being offended because that wasn't my intention. My intention is never to offend anybody. However, I'm entitled to feel how I feel. I'm absolutely entitled to feel how I feel the same way you are entitled to feel how you feel. I ain't asked nobody to follow me. I ain't asked nobody to agree with me. I was asked a question and I answered the damn question, okay? I have no beef with the LGBTQIA plus community whatsoever. I ain't got no beef with y'all. Do whatever the hell it is you want to do. Do what you want to do with your kids. However, somebody asked my opinion on this matter, and this is how I feel. I will never be okay with allowing a child to make a decision that detrimental to their life. I will never be okay with that. I don't care. I definitely plan to educate myself a little bit more on this matter. However, I doubt that there's any book anywhere or any opinion that somebody's going to tell me that's going to make me okay with letting a child make a decision like that. That's just period, point blank, and that's how I feel. If I get canceled for this, then you know what? Maybe this is a world where they don't need a Neo no more, all right? And I got no problem with that. I'm a hustler, all right? I'll figure it out. I got kids to raise, and I'm going to do that regardless. So with that being said, y'all have a good day. I love everybody. Live how you want to live, love how you want to love, but your opinion is yours. Speak your opinion as much as you damn well feel like it. Because as I said, they're not important, they're not special. Everybody got one, and you're entitled to it. I'm entitled to mine. All right? Y'all feel how y'all want to feel. Have a great day. It's Neo. Peace and love.
Good video.
Get some fucking asthma, baby.
Get some asthma.
Good video.
Although I would say this to Neo, like if I was in his camp, what did he say? It was 43. He's starting down the road. You ever see pictures of Michael Jackson's dad, Joe Jackson?
Yes, the one surgery.
Yeah. Had a sort of penciled in mustache and a kind of weird eyes. He's heading toward, he's not there yet. This is where I come in.
Come on, this is a Neo celebration day. Let's not pick at his faults right now.
I do this because I love. I'm saying,
trying to help him out.
You are at a crossroads right now, and you could start heading toward Michael Jackson's dad, Joe Jackson, who's the most evil man in the world. And I always wanted to say to Joe Jackson, the most evil man in the world, why are you wearing that mustache? That is the evil man's mustache. Yeah. It's second only to the Hitler mustache in terms of evil, and that's been, mitigated by Charlie Chaplin to some degree. Sorry, Ami. I know we're getting controversial
not to be confused with Joe Jackson of Stepping Out.
Right. Not the white English Joe Jackson, but he starred, if you can find, you'll see a picture of Neo and a picture of Joe Jackson, and you'll go,
the villain mustache?
He's starting to go down that road. And what I want to do is just intervene. I just want to go.
Helping
you want to help him out.
Here's where it ends. Here it stops at Joe Jackson here. Yeah. So let's just move it on. Carl Weathers or something. Let's pick another guy and shift gears.
You're just here to help.
I'm here to help. Okay. I wouldn't be talking if I didn't care. So, yes, he is doing what a larger and larger group of Americans are doing, which is this. It is an interesting social phenomenon that you essentially have something transgender that represents not 1% of society, and yet they, through people's sort of foibles and fears, and everyone doesn't want to be called, a misogynist or transphobic or whatever it is, have convinced all of America to apologize for saying the sanest, most sober comments on the planet. That's an interesting sort of social phenomenon,
especially
right?
when the majority of the people think just like that. So who's he apologizing to?
This is basically like me walking into a huge cafeteria at a military academy and going, I know you guys all like ribs, but I like bean curd. And me just fucking confident, and everyone handing me their plates of ribs. Like, here's your bean, here's your ladle of bean curd. And everyone just sitting there, thousands of people just eating fucking bean curd. And they're going, I like ribs, but shh. You have to issue an apology for saying you liked ribs. How did it work? Should we just beat the shit out of the guy who's trying to force the bean curd on us? Why did we listen to it?
I think you have to be at a level of success, which Neo is, big producer, musician, but really producing now, where he's like, I'm good. I don't need to
F me money.
I don't need to carry this.
Better than F you money.
F me. He has because of that, he has more at risk. Look, I don't have that much at risk relative to him. He has more at risk. So I thought that's a pair of balls. Because he's not in a situation where he can say, fuck you guys.
See, I think he is.
Oh, really?
I think so, with his producing and all that stuff.
How much do you think he's worth?
Getting royalties. I bet a good amount.
Like a quarter, like a centimillionaire?
Yeah, I bet. I would imagine all the producing.
Well, we got to check his net.
Now, if he has 100,000,
CelebrityNetworth.com.
Now, if he's worth 100,000, it's like, man, that took balls.
Well, somebody's got to work out the chart, because you make $0 to $14,000 a year. You can get up on your roof with a crossbow, light the arrows, and fire it at UPS trucks, and no one's like with a Schlitz between your legs, and like no one will say anything because you're like an empty bag. You get to do what you want. But then you get between like 14 and 56, and now you work. You're a teacher, you're a postman, you have a cop, a fireman, like you have a job, and you better fucking zip it, because they'll come after you. Then there's a kind of in-between money where what I always call FU money, where it's like, I make a few $100,000, I say what I want, I don't care. But once you get into F me money, that's multi-millionaire.
See, and I don't think that's brave. It's brave. To get to your point, it's brave when the guys have something to lose and do it. Like if Chris Pratt did it, right? Where he has these big movies, he's like, nah, I'm not apologizing on this. She's like, man, they're gonna pull your movies. Like, that's fine. That's usually brave to me.
Yes,
like,
something
when you
to
have
lose.
FU money and they're like, no, you guys need to stick by it. It's like, but if I stick by it, man, I'm not going to pay my mortgage. Like, I'm going to have to start carrying the toll like they're asking.
By the way, your scale is way off. Yeah. On FU money? Are you crazy?
Yeah. No,
you do not have FU money 100.
No, I didn't. No, you can.
FU money, you're in the tens of millions to have FU money.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It's higher.
FU money is the hundreds of millions.
Yes.
If you work for somebody, and living in California or New York, you're fucked too. They're parts of Kentucky. We have Neo's only $9 million, so he doesn't have F me money. He has a little bit of FU, FU money.
Yeah,
we have Neo and Joe Jackson.
It's brave.
Let's see if we can pull this off.
That's there. Yeah,
there's some there. I would argue that's
you can put
not
Joe Jackson in a movie.
The Neo from the car is probably a better version of the Neo I was talking
Neo's
about.
mustache still a little thicker.
Yeah, look, you get him from the car. Just do a still from the car, and I think we'll see some of it. All right, so no more apologies, right?
It's tough to say because if you're in Hollywood, right? You got this big movie.
It hurts though, right? Like it.
What do you mean it hurts?
Like for instance, like Jennifer Aniston's apology. It's just like, oh, I didn't.
Yes, can we stigmatize the pussies who apologize about everything? Like if we could do that,
aren't you just drawing more attention to it?
No, but Jennifer Aniston doesn't care that the public's like, oh, you pussy, that's weak. You apologize. She just wants to stay in the cool kids club. In the Hollywood club.
Well, she wants work. Yeah, no, she needs work.
That's what she. I don't know if she needs it because she wants to be with the cool kids.
Absolutely.
If she was like, yeah, listen, I like that. I didn't know what was going on there. I don't think it's anti-Semitic. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Then she probably doesn't work another movie. She'd be fine.
Yeah, and she does have.
She wants to stay
money.
with for the Friends money. You kidding me?
Oh yeah.
She wants to stay with the cool kids. That's all she cares about. We need those cool kids to become the ones that don't apologize.
Do we? By the way, I've been struggling with this thing on that tweet, right? But the killing Jesus thing.
Yeah,
are we? So where are? Yeah. Look, I am not one who jumps on that's anti-Semitism. Like it needs to be clearly anti-Semitism. Where? I mean,
he said they. And also the Romans killed Jesus.
Yeah. Look.
So they's up for
an interpretation.
Yeah.
Well, I think that.
Well, Ami as a representative of all Jewish people.
Yes, as always, I always am. Look, if the intent was in fact friends and not Jews, I can accept that. I can totally accept that. The problem is that it's when I heard that from those kids at Camp McStrauss, it is something which has gotten millions of Jews killed over the centuries.
Yeah, I get it.
So the question is, look, what I can accept that it wasn't anti-Semitism,
but he put the hashtag with about friends,
and that's what made me think maybe he really did make a mistake.
I don't.
Like, where do you guys sit on that?
Yeah. All right. It seems weirdly specific. And sadly, there is a history of the black community and anti-Semitism. So
even very recent.
That doesn't.
Kanye, you're talking about Kanye?
Kanye,
and
Cardi
beyond.
B, Ice Cube. I can go on.
Cardi B,
dude. Yeah, just recently.
Oh yeah, and
do that microphone at a Jewish person.
And and Ilhan Omar and all the squad and everything that Rashida Tlaib and all. There's a whole bunch of
massive list.
It's a massive list.
Nick Cannon
was a massive one.
Right.
Deshaun Jackson. I mean, go on and on.
It's kind of the problem is
it's a real problem.
when you're like setting.
I've got a list, dude.
Setting the table with this, then it does kind of make you go because like you don't really hear it out of the Asian community. So if George Takei said something, you'd kind of go like, what does he mean? What is that thing? It's not like, another one of these incidents. Right.
It's because Jamie Foxx is a famous
you kind of go,
guy,
but then bigger, I don't know why we taking this to X or Twitter. You got a beef with a friend?
It was on Instagram story.
But do we know what the actual history, like, is there an example of a friend fucking him over?
I don't know, but why do I have to present that?
It was just Jamie Foxx being emo, I think. And then
But do you think that apology is okay? Because anti-Semitic's never cool. And if he was like, whoa, hold on, that's not what I meant.
That's fine.
My bad if you thought that. That's not what I was saying.
I'm okay with that.
Then that explanation, I'm like, that's fine. You're not towing the line to please Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm
This
fine.
he's like, whoa, I have some Jewish friends, man. That's not what I meant. They just notified me that this seemed anti-Semitic. Not my intentions. My bad. I'm cool with it.
Where do we land with
If you
Jennifer
posted
Aniston?
If you posted it and you meant it, though, you would double down on.
The thing about Jennifer Aniston is that she didn't know his intent. She just saw what it said, which was they killed Jesus, which usually means read Jews.
Right.
Look, I don't think she's anti-Semitic. Right? I mean, I'd never heard of anything about her being anti-Semitic. I think she
she read the comments and was like, oh man, they're really pissed. And I bet her agent was like, oh, you already did it. Thank you. Click.
Yeah.
Would you think she was just Jamie Foxx? Everyone's rooting for him. He had that horrible illness, and now he's on
Just
the
support
mend.
whatever
And
he
so I was
does.
like,
I would
I'll
like to
just
think
click
so. Yeah.
like if I see Jamie
Could be.
Foxx
I would
on
like
there.
to think so.
We have Neo from the car.
Let's see Neo.
Y'all give Jennifer Aniston the benefit of the doubt.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
There it is, yeah.
I told you it's coming, people.
Yeah, if Neo was caught in a fire, it looks like he's melting. Dude.
Neo is 43. Joe Jackson 79 in this fucking picture.
Fair point. Fair point.
I'm telling. Listen to me. I didn't say he was Joe Jackson.
He's headed that
I
direction.
said we're at a crossroads,
Yes,
Neo.
that's fair.
And one lane goes toward Joe Jackson, and the other goes anywhere but Joe Jackson.
Towards Usher. Yeah.
So toward Usher.
Yes.
Now, we're going to have to map out your next 28 years. And I would suggest getting off the Joe Jackson road. We can start with simple changes like the facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's straightforward.
These publicists, they don't need to worry about any apologies. They need to get him on the right path.
The penciled in skinny Carnival Barker mustache is not helping the cause, whether you're offending the trans community or beating on your own kids. It's just not a good look.
And we're not saying Neo did that.
No,
Right.
no.
No.
No, but
That
I'm
mustache
saying,
should only be on Wario from Mario. That's it.
I'm saying, and the big gold hoop earring, Joe Jackson.
The necklace is pretty
And a
similar.
leather hat.
That leather
He's really-
Gucci hat pretty lame.
He's really just going. He went downtown, went to the CNR clothier, and just went, look, is there an outfit that makes me look like I'm beating my kids? And they went right this way, Mr.
And he's
Jackson.
like, wait, let's give us this leather hat.
Oh, yes, I need a leather hat. What else? Well, we have a jewelry line here. We can have 3 chains and 1 big hoop.
Has he ever talked about it? Like being the kids? Is he like, it is, look what I built though.
You can't argue with track record and success though, right?
No,
Well, that's the
I
thing.
can't.
It's like with Terrence Crawford. I don't know if you watched that boxing match. Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence Jr. It was like the biggest boxing, number 1 pound for pound versus number 3. And Crawford beat the hell out of Spence. They were interviewing his mom before the fight. I don't know if you guys saw this. And it's an ESPN interviewer, and they're like, so what made Terrence special? He's grown up. She's like, since he was 2 years old, every morning he woke up, I told him he ain't shit. You're all, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Right.
And then she goes, yeah, and then I would pay the bullies in the neighborhood $10 if they could beat him up.
Oh,
Since
yeah.
he was 2 years old, and you're like, okay, that's interesting. I was like, I bet Terrence Crawford's like, yeah, it made me tough. I love my mom. And they're like, how do you feel about it? He's like, it's really sad. I was a kid.
Right.
It's fucked up. And you're like, oh, this is a sad story. This is very sad. I feel bad for Crawford. It's not a positive story. Because for every Terrence Crawford, there's 100 million kids where their parents just suck, tell them they're not shit.
Yeah.
And they don't turn into
Right, they're not
Crawford.
cashing that check.
No, they're not millionaires.
I think there's tape of Joe Jackson somewhere talking about opening a can of whoop ass on his kids. Because I just have a vague recollection that I don't know if it's in print. I don't know if it's on tape. I just remember him like bragging about whooping up on his kids. It is unthinkable when you have kids to think about hitting
Insane.
them. Isn't it weird?
Insane.
Is it though?
Some days are tough,
Like I told him, I haven't beaten my kids, but I told them like if gave me a reason to, I would. I just haven't. They haven't given a reason.
How old are they?
Well, now they're like 21. And
they
were they were.
I just realized I have a bizarre.
We all got beaten, right?
Carolla tradition.
Yeah, I'd not beaten, but
no, I never.
Really?
No.
Well, so here's an
Chris.
No, not
am I
beaten.
the only one who got belts taken out and smacked around?
Yeah,
Camus Strauss too. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting coincidence. I'm one of the few people I know who was never struck by my own parents, but hit by 2 other parents of friends on 2 separate occasions. So most people are hit by their own parents the lion's share of the time, but they maybe a dusting of someone else's parent. I'm goose egg with the parents, and I got 2 for 2 with other people's parents, and I realize I have never struck my daughter, but her I don't know what to call her. Well, think of it. Her nanny. Her nanny has hit her. And
what?
Which is Guatemalan.
Yeah, I said, it's in the blood. I said, why'd you hit her? And she said, she spit in my face. And I said, okay. I said, okay, good.
Yeah.
I said, good. But now I realize that not only was I struck by other people's parents, but now I have a daughter who carries on the legacy of never being touched by her own parents, but hit by other adults.
Did Grandpa Munster hit you?
Yeah, Grandpa Al Lewis hit me, and Roberta Messick.
Now, did the nanny just like slap her? The nanny's like, I give her a right hand, she won't forget.
I don't know if she balled it up, but I completely.
I'd have some questions.
I condoned it. She got to me because she thought my daughter was going to get to me and starts crying, and that lady hit me, and then I was going to care, But the nanny got to me first and said, I just got to tell you. Oh, by the way, Roberta Messick, after she hit me, went and got to my mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't fucking get this bitch involved with this. Like,
what are you doing? It's already bad
Look,
enough.
You smacked me. I got low self-esteem. I'm not talking.
Yeah.
But she went and told my mom, and then it got all weird and uncomfortable,
But spit in the face?
That's Natalia spit in her face? That's hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
She was a little Tasmanian devil, and she just, out of reaction, just whack.
That's
right?
fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
I have hit a couple of kids that I babysat for. They're real shitheads.
Really?
They deserved it. Yeah.
We have a clip of Joe Jackson on Oprah. Or talking to Oprah.
Dressed the exact same way.
Don't dress like an evil pallbearer.
Yeah.
Like, you're being accused of being a bad dude. Why dress?
Lean into it.
Wear fucking floral print.
Yeah.
Like,
Something friendly, man.
Joe, are you
Is he
summer?
petting a cat underneath that screen?
Yeah. Can you just... how Magnum P.I. would dress? Like some flip-flops and some drawstring pants and a Hawaiian shirt? Like, go ahead, Joe.
He needs a Tommy Bahama sponsor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Here he is. Sorry.
I was beaten as a kid because that was the culture. That was the way we were raised. And so was that the way you raised your children?
Beat or whip?
No.
Same thing.
It's the same thing when you have welts on your back.
When you say beat.
I know. So you're taking issue with the word beat, right?
I'm taking away from with the word whip.
With the word whip.
It's
So
worse.
what would you say that you used to discipline your children?
Flip-flop.
You might as well admit it.
Yeah.
That's the way black people raise their children.
Yes. I'm just asking you. You can answer that for me, can't
white
you?
Jewish
Whether or
people.
not he used...
He used the strap.
He used the strap.
Yes, he did
Yeah.
use the strap.
So let me just ask you this. Knowing what you know now, would you do it differently? Do you think you would be a different kind of father?
I would have punished them by whipping them with a strap or something when they did something wrong. It would have kept them out of trouble, out of jail. My kids never been in jail before. 9 kids never been in jail.
That's a good... Hello.
Yes.
Hello. That's good.
And
That's the
that's great.
children, but
Do you regret those strappings on your children?
No, I don't.
You don't regret it?
No, because it kept them out of jail.
Because it
and
kept 'em
raised
out of
them
jail.
right.
He's got a lot in common with Neo.
Have
He
some
does
asthma.
not fucking walk shit back.
You can't apologize.
And by the way, in defense of me beating that kid I babysat, he had a fishing rod and he flicked it at me and hooked me.
Oh,
with the
yeah.
fishing
How
rod.
old were you?
15, 14.
Okay. You're all 44.
Did you also notice that Joe Jackson not only had a chain, but like the kind of chain they give you on the sideline of the NFL when you intercept a
Yeah,
ball?
like a Master P chain.
Giant medallion.
He wants you to know he means
He
business.
had like a 4-foot anchor chain with a huge zodiac medallion.
What does strap look like if that's his necklace?
I do love that mindset. It was like, Joe, you got to wear a suit and tie. What am I going to do with my chain? Well, you got to wear a suit and tie. Oh, then I need a huge chain that can just drape over my
We need
suit.
a bigger chain.
I need a bigger chain.
My formal chain.
But also, she's like, do you regret it? And he's like, have you heard the Jackson 5?
Right.
Are you kidding me? No.
Yeah. The big hoop earring, the penciled in mustache, the sort of mafiosa.
It's the villain
Frank
starter kit.
Sinatra, Everything's
Like,
black.
I hate sympathy. Look.
And just the kind of arms folded and tilt, that thing where you tilt your chin down and then stare up, like, I'm brooding over here. Again, doesn't like, look, all right, let me just say, we talked to Mark Geragos earlier in the show. Mark Geragos, if he has a client and they're like going in front of the judge and they're like for aggravated assault or something, it's like, I got a nice pastel cardigan in the car. Just go ahead and slip this.
Make you look a little friendly.
This powder blue cardigan on.
Let's get a nice salmon on you.
Yeah,
maybe a peach.
Yeah, your pit bull shirt that says "bad to the bone" on it. Let's go ahead and take that off, and we'll put. Doesn't anyone do that with Joe? We're going to sit down with Oprah. She's going to talk about you beating on your kids.
He doesn't care, dude.
That's what I love.
That's
about
what's gangster.
He had F me money.
Yeah, he did. I like how the wife was like, "There's no reason to lie. You can just. We've made it. Just tell him what you did."
This is the first news item, right? We haven't gotten off the first news item.
No,
right.
We're done.
First and last.
We're done the whole show.
That was good.
All right. So, Mark Geragos. Yeah, he was on the show. Reasonable Doubt. Listen to that wherever you find finer podcasts. And then Ami, you can just check out AmiHorowitz.com and check out all his videos. Brendan Schaub, live shows, and he's coming to Phoenix. That'll be Friday at Stand Up Live, and he's going to be everywhere. So just go to thickboy.com. I'm going to be in Vegas tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. And Appleton, Wisconsin, and Honolulu. Just go to AdamCarolla.com for all my live shows. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla. For Mark Geragos, Ami Horowitz, Brendan Schaub, and Chris Max Pata saying mahalo.